These wagons are rapidly becoming my favourite wagons. Hi there everyone, it's really great to see you. I hope I find you well and I hope you're coping okay through this lockdown. And we've got a few great videos for you to help ease those hours away and keep you entertained. And today, thanks to the good folks over at Accurascale, we've got another set of those PFA wagons in a different livery from the one that we did last week. And I'm really excited to see these, so I'm going to show you through this different livery variation. Also, don't forget to check out our sponsor, Train-O-Matic, who are makers of DCC decoders and other handy accessories, and they're designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Check them out at trainomatic.com and also tramfabrique.nl. Links are in the description box down below. Without further ado, come with me. I'm really excited to show you this new model from Accurascale. Today it's the turn of another Accurascale 3-wagon pack for the PFAs. We already reviewed the British Fuels version last week and it scored immensely highly, so this review is more about the different livery option of this particular set. And as I alluded to last week, Accurascale have done pretty much every livery that these diminutive wagons carried, so they're suitable for a wide range of different periods. I've got on this one the catalogue number PF012A, PFA container flat wagon, and this is the British Gypsum Blue. And as before, there's a little note in the box which gives a potted history of the wagons, and I was quite surprised at the time to find that they dated back as far as 1986, though the two different liveries that I've been fortunate enough to be able to review, thanks to the kindness of Accurascale sending these over, are more suited to the mid-1990s onwards. It's the same packaging that we had with the last set of wagons, so I'm just going to get all these out and then we'll turn to the little printed sheet which gives the potted history of the class. Now already I can see that there's something subtly different here. These containers are completely different to the ones that we reviewed last week with the British Fuels ones. They were open top, designed to carry household coal or smokeless fuel, so effectively they were a glorified tippler wagon. These are covered boxes, and it's a completely different style of container. That is interesting. I wasn't actually expecting that. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but this is a completely different tooling to suit the different traffic that these wagons were being employed for. So that really is interesting. Let's get the rest of the wagons out. And again, there's a slight difference with these. They've got an insert which I can just lift out. There's an insert which allows the fitting of the containers, and that looks to be a framework designed for an ISO container to lock into in some way. So again, that's another different part. These are markedly different to the ones we reviewed last week. It's not just a re-livery. There is a lot more going on with these. I hadn't realised that, it must be said. So I'm even more impressed than I was. And believe me, if you haven't seen that review from last week, I was very impressed. Also, the other thing I should note, in case people go, oh, you could have washed your hands first, that's paint from a weathering video that I'm producing. So look out for that on Friday. And it's actually, we're going to have the trio of Accurascale videos because it's a how-to weathering guide on some Accurascale wagons. But that is why I've got funny looking paint marks on my hands. Yes, I have scrubbed it. No, it won't come off. We've got the same pack of 3-link couplings in here, which if that's the way you want to go, then they've got you covered with the full set. And the same potted history of these wagons, which basically tells you which livery is suitable for when. And as before, I really want to show you this. It gives you the full breakdown of all the pieces that go into one of these wagons. So all those people go, why are they so expensive? Well, actually, it's an incredibly well designed and well molded kit that somebody's taken the bother to expertly assemble and then expertly paint and finish for you. That is why these things cost so much, because you try building a kit to this kind of standard and getting the same effect, and you'll find it won't come anywhere under what these cost. Here is the trio of wagons, and actually these are noticeably different from the British Fuels versions that we did last week. They have a different style of lettering. The layout doesn't have the numbers on the end. If you remember, the British Fuels had the last 3 digits of the running numbers emblazoned on the ends. These are accurate renditions of how the wagons fared when they came to be on the British Gypsum contract. So I'm really pleased to see that this attention to detail has extended to all of the little detail differences, and that might have been really easy to overlook for any other manufacturer, to just stick a different running number on, maybe remember to update the containers that go on the top, and actually overlook so many of these subtle but important detail differences as these wagons progressed through their commercial life. Now, I talked a lot about the wagons, the brake gear especially, and how all that fitted together on the British Fuels version, so I'm going to concentrate on what's different for these. So first up, as you can see here, it keeps falling off a little bit. It's the framework which holds the container, and again, this makes these wagons more accurate for the period. I believe that the reason for these, looking at the containers, is because these were intended to be taken on and off with a big forklift truck. There are photographs available on the internet of places like Hochley Hill in Nottinghamshire, or it maybe even be Leicestershire. I think it might be Nottinghamshire, on the old Great Central line, and part of that line remained open to serve, amongst other things, the British Gypsum facility there. And I have seen photographs of these sorts of containers being unloaded with a big industrial forklift truck, and those gaps there for the forks go all the way through. And I suspect that the reason that these trestles were on the wagons was to lift the container up enough that the forklift could get access to those slots without running the risk of damaging the wagon. The containers themselves sit really nicely onto that trestle, and there's no lateral movement on there. They're not quite as secure as we saw on the British Fuels. If you do turn them over, they will fall out. But in terms of normal use, they're not going to come off there. They are pretty sturdily on. And together, they do make an excellent package. Now, one of the other big areas that is different is these containers. So I'm going to put the wagons to one side, and I'm going to turn to these containers, and these are really, really fine. I'm just looking across at the different bits of detail that we've got. It's quite interesting that there's even a posable handle on there for the release mechanism on the end doors, which really, really quite fine. So there we are. Slot it back into position. These are completely different from the British Fuels ones. If you remember with those, they were open-topped and they had the kind of corsetina effect around the edges, just like most shipping containers that you're used to seeing. These have these more slab-sided inserts with a separately applied British Gypsum name board over the top. They're finished in the right colour for the BPB, which I believe BPB was British Paper Board. Now, the gypsum was being, I believe that these containers, this container traffic, it were being shipped from coal-fired power stations, where as part of the scrubbing process for the emissions, they used, I can't remember which chemical it was, but it removed the sulfur dioxide from the emissions. The actual byproduct of this was magnesium sulfate, aka gypsum. And this was then shipped to the British paperboard plants, where it was turned into your rock wall, the stuff, the plasterboard that goes on your wall. That's what it is. It's what it was used for. And it's actually an amazing way of making use of a waste product that would have otherwise probably gone to landfill. But these containers were used to ship it. I can see that it's got what appear to be openable flaps for the roof. This particular model, that they're non-opening, but I suspect that these were to make sure that the contents remain dry, because you don't want the gypsum getting wet, because it would just become a gloopy, horrible mess, I guess. And the detail on these top flaps are incredibly well detailed. It's just really crisp, really nice. The ends of the containers as well, both ends are different. So we've got the kind of the blank end, the non-opening end, and then we turn it round and we've got that representation of the tippler doors, where I guess that they would have in the factory been tipped up and everything would have slid out, that have presumably been loaded through the top, unloaded through the ends. The British Gypsum and the BPB logo is really nicely done. What I've noticed is 2 of the containers are all liveried up with the logos. The third one, interestingly enough, doesn't have the logos printed on the side. And you might think, well, that's a mistake. That's some kind of error with the actual printing process. But having once upon a time very briefly worked for BPB, I do know that sometimes for reasons of repair, a lot of the containers that they used for various things, they'd get repaired, sprayed over with the blue paint, but the actual transfers for the BPB logo might not necessarily be added there. So I'm prepared to say, actually, that's probably incredible attention to detail to model it as per, I'm guessing they've got a photograph of it like this. The rest of the markings are there. So we've got the actual container numbers are different on all 3 of these, and there are actually other subtle detail differences. So you can see here there's another piece of tampo printing in the corner there, and yeah, that's on the other side. I think all 3 are the same on both sides. Looking to the ends as well, we've got completely different tampo printed detail, and it is really nice. We've got all of the accurate details that should be on there, and as per the prototype, some of them have little subtle differences in the detailing. Whilst I've got them up on their ends, you can also see that you can actually see through some of the holes in the container where the ISO twist locks would have engaged. And if you ever look at a full-size ISO container, that is entirely true to prototype. I just love this attention to detail on these containers. These wagons are rapidly becoming my favourite wagons. It's unbelievable how they have... This is what's done it, that has turned me on to modern image wagons. Came close with the all-new, all-singing, all-dancing Hattons Class 66, but these, I think this is the clincher. My word, I never thought I'd see the day where I would go modern image, but I'm starting to become quite interested in picking up odd bits and pieces. So well done, Accurascale, well played. These are the wagons that, if they can turn me from Steam and BR Blue to modern image, then, well, nobody is going to resist their charms. And so we come to the scores. And you remember last week the British Fuels versions did score incredibly highly. In fact, I think they may currently be sat as being the wagon of the year thus far. These wagons, I think, are going to break that record. Ostensibly they are the same wagon, but there's a number of detail differences, and I'm so impressed at how Accurascale have modelled all of these. I described these as being the V12 Aston Martin Vanquish with the full optional extras package, including the James Bond ejector seat, the machine guns in the wings, and I think we've also got the thing that drops an oil slick on the road, and the bulletproof thing on the back. You know, this is the real deal. So, for finish, Last time, the British Fuels version scored a 9.8, a very healthy 9.8, but they were held back a little bit because out of the box, one of the buffers was missing its spring. No such problem with these. There is nothing else to fault, I have to say. They get a 10 out of 10. Return to functionality. Everything here is as good as the British Fuels versions that we reviewed last week. There is nothing to fault on them, and there is still nothing to fault on these. So, of course, they get another 10 out of 10. Ease of use. Well, again, there is no fault that's on these that was different from the British Fuels version. I simply have to say, another 10 out of 10. For aesthetics, I am really impressed with these. The attention to detail on these containers is second to none. I would actually rate these containers as being my favourite out of the two types. I did like the British Fuels version, but these go above and beyond the call of duty. They are exquisite in every single way. There is nothing that I can fault with these, so another 10 out of 10. And lastly, we come to value for money. Again, these come out at exactly the same price as the British Fuels version. It is great how Accurascale has catered for all the different versions, keeping you covered for any particular period that you choose to model that these are applicable to from 1986 onwards. They come out at the same prices in the shops. We've got some affiliate links down below to help you find your own if you really enjoyed this review and are as impressed as I am with these models. So I feel with these that Accurascale have gone above and beyond. There's so much more going on here with these containers. They have impressed me more, and I think that it is just exquisite to the nth degree. So I'm going to give these a 9.8 out of 10. Well, that is an amazing score. 49.8. I didn't think that anything could beat the review from last week, and I know that I haven't really focused on the construction of the wagons. When I do another review of a similar wagon as to what I've done a previous full-on review, I tend to like to concentrate on the livery differences. So if you really want to see the full XP on the construction of the wagons themselves, then do check out last week's video. But really, that is an amazing score. I find it hard to believe that any model is going to be able to beat that, and I'm already going to call it that these here are the wagons of the year. The Aston Martin V12 Vantage with the full James Bond optional spec, the metallic paint, in fact, heck, let's have the invisible car paint. But yes, can I recommend these? Yes, I certainly can. Well, I hope you found that video really informative. Don't forget to tickle the like button and share it too. Really important that other people know about the video content that we're putting out here on this channel. And subscribe too if you've not already done so. You'll be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. Also, don't forget to check out, we've got some affiliate links down below if you want to pick up some of the models that we've been showing you today. And they really are great models, well worth a look. And until next time, take really good care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you again. Bye for now. Today's video is sponsored by Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon. And an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Allen, oorail.co.uk, Tepic, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Peter Bolton, Brian Smith, and Brian and Dorothy Mudd. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.